Gonna go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it. That's just a heavy
Gonna go for two here. For two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
Go for two here. For two here.
Okay, we are back, guys. First off, we want to thank everyone that joined us on Sunday for the live show. It was awesome. I know that we all talked about it for this today. Like, we had a lot of fun doing it, so we're glad that people tuned in and checked it out. So we appreciate the support, and everyone that watched it knows that something huge happened during the game. The opening kickoff wasn't a touchback.
I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I gave out so much.
you could see
I
Mick
knew
and
more
Legs just
than
start
the kicker.
charging there.
Yeah.
Where you at, Aiden?
as soon
Where
as-
you at,
yeah.
Aiden?
We
As soon as you ran it out, I
mean,
thought
that
about
was
talking about in regards to the whole being amped up and being jacked up and wanting to take the kick out. And you could just see it. He was totally psyched up about doing it, and you could see all his boys were. Didn't even matter that he barely didn't even get over the 20-yard line. Everybody was just happy to get the ball out.
Man, it
Yeah.
was so funny. So I just walked up to the kitchen and grabbed something, and all of a sudden I heard, and it kicks off. I flew in front of my TV. Luckily, I have a tiny ass apartment, and I was just like, and as I turned my head, he just crossed the goal line. I was like, yeah. And then of course my girlfriend was just like, what? She's like, what just happened? I was like, I just won money. It's like-
it was a nice way to start it. I gotta tell you,
and
We-
it ended great for me too.
we started way better than the McAfee show did. I don't know if you saw it, Caleb. I know that Chad and I were watching it. Liam, I'm not sure if you saw it, but they live streamed the coin toss because McAfee put 30,000 on tails, and it was heads.
Ooh, that'll be it.
Yeah,
He dropped, and all I
absolutely.
hear is "fuck." And then
Yeah,
the next thing you hear, he goes, "Who's kicking off?" And they're like, "Buckner." And he's just like, "I'm done." He's like, "Shut the game off," because he said if Buckner kicks, it's going to be a touchback.
yeah. But hey, I mean,
Oh,
it was a
he
great
didn't kick
game.
the-
A lot of the conversation that's going to be dominated, I think, is going to be Chad today because he did call this back in August. Call it homerism, call it looking into the future, whatever it is. It's his.
Remember
So,
Dave Chappelle, Astrodomus? That's me.
yeah. So I mean,
I really expected you to come on here wearing some sort of crazy creamsicle outfit or something just to be. But I do like the pepper grinder. You're really bringing it home with the
Nah.
pepper grinder shirt.
Yeah, you know what, Caleb? I'm a class act. I wouldn't do something like that to you. I
We
know
love
what
it.
you. I know what you
Yeah.
lost. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a classy man today, and I'm just gonna do what Antoine Winfield did to Tyreek. Deuces. That's me saying peace to you. You're going in that water.
yeah. Well, and that's
It's
the other thing that came out of all this. The child can polar bear dip or whatever chili challenge we end up deciding to do that works best. That has fallen onto Kalen. And what's funny about it is Chad and I started this challenge probably 2 or 3 weeks before Kalen came in. And we kept trying to find a way to like, how do we do this? How do we do this? And Kalen's just like, whatever, I'll just come in. Like, it's no big deal. So he came in, he was off to a lead for a bit, and then boom, down goes Kalen. like Conseco in his fight the other night. But
That was so bad.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
Now,
just the roller coaster ride
Something
was
that
great.
I was thinking about today was we had an episode probably 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago. The Bucs were 7-5 at the time. We were talking about, are they at risk of not making the playoffs? Now, looking ahead, that was obviously stupid conversation that we were having, but that's pretty much all we do is have stupid conversations, so that's okay. Now, look at from 7-5, them figuring out what they needed to do and how to win the Super Bowl, and they stuck to their plan, and they probably were favored against Washington, but they were supposed to lose to New Orleans. They were supposed to lose to Green Bay, and they were supposed to lose to the Chiefs, according to me. And they just rolled through all of it. So Chad, give us some idea of how not only they turned it around, but how the whole thing came to be.
Number one, they trusted the system. That's just plain and simple. They never got off course. They stuck to their game plan from day one. Outside of that, you got to remember we made a joke saying they were making a super team. I think they might be one of the only super teams that ever won in year one.
Yeah.
Like it happens in basketball all the time. I think the Lakers won last year, but outside of that, like you don't make super teams usually that win the first year because it takes so much time to build the chemistry. And like we had no OTAs, we had no off season, we had no preseason. Guys were coming in. I think the first week of September, you and I were watching and drinking beers, and Leonard Fournette got signed.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things where it took some time to get going, and we brought a lot of individuals in. But by the end of it, they bought into what the system was, and what the game plan was. And if you watch it, not one of those guys made it about themselves anywhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Evans came out today and said he took a pay cut to come back. He's like, I'll take a pay cut to bring these guys back. That's a top 7 receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, he already said he's coming back. They can't pay him less than what they are because he's a 25 guaranteed. You're not going to pay him less than 25 million. Gronk already said he's going to take a pay cut to come back. McCoy's gone, so there's that. Not only you're paying him anyways. The only one I can see not coming back on offense is probably going to be Godwin because his return is going to be so high. He's going to get 16, 17 million somewhere. And I just don't think that's going to be in the cards for us. And then on defense, our secondary costs us nothing. They're all on rookie deals still.
Yeah.
So I think 2 years from now we're in trouble there. But like we're going to lose Shaq Barrett or we're going to lose Levante David. Personally, I'd rather lose Shaq Barrett. That front's good enough without him. I can't believe I'm even saying that. But you could find an extra rusher to be on the opposite side of JPP if you have Vita Vea beside you, and they got Sue still there as well. But the way how fast those linebackers are and how they play, especially in that division, you need the speed there. So I think Levante David's probably like priority 1 on the defensive side.
Right. And
a fun little thing you mentioned. Chad, you mentioned chemistry and not having OTAs or anything. Did you happen to read that article today that talked about the quarterback coach saying that AB ran the wrong route on his touchdown catch?
Yeah, I watched that interview actually. He ran it was supposed to be
that's
in and
amazing,
out,
right? No chemistry. That's right. Yeah, it's a complete. That's amazing that Tom Brady was able to make that read. Regardless, like the guy said, it doesn't even matter that AB ran the wrong route. Just get open, I'm gonna get you the ball. But yeah, that's awesome.
But same like in the same interview they talked about that, and he actually said he's like, what the guys that don't understand is he's like, this is his first year with Tom Brady. He played with Peyton Manning before and Andrew Luck, and he came out and said he's like, what you guys see when he's on the sideline freaking out, he's like, he's never once ever came down on somebody. They said he's that passionate, like it just never coming down. And he's like, and the guys stop and listen.
Right.
Because they know how good he is. And he's never saying like you're wrong, or he's more saying like smarten the fuck up. He's like, if you get a holding penalty when Jensen and Kappa got those unsportsmanlike in a row in the Saints game.
Yep.
He came out and called them out on it back in I think it was week 10 or whatever. He was just saying like what the fuck are you doing? He never belittled anybody. Just when there's no mics on the field, you can't actually hear what's being said. And he kind of said like that's the kind of person he is, and the guys responded to it. So like, and he's just telling them like, yeah, get open, I got you. Or just saying, I expect you to be in a place.
Well, based on what you're saying, I'm curious to what he said to Tyrann Mathieu on the field, but
I'm so interested to hear.
Enough that he had to
we'll
say
hear about
sorry
that on
after.
America's game.
He knew to say sorry.
Yeah. But like I'm gonna like I definitely thought the Chiefs were gonna show up with a little bit of a better effort. Now when you look at what the Chiefs brought, and we'll get back to the Bucs because the Bucs won the game, and ultimately that's what we're going to talk about. Do you think that the Chiefs were outcoached? Do you think that the players weren't as fired up because they already beat the Bucs earlier in the year? Like, what was it that they just didn't have it?
For me, I think they got outclassed across the board. I think they got outcoached. And Shane, I'm going to go back on my words, and you're right. Eric Bellamy is not a head coach.
Right.
I don't even think he calls his own plays. he didn't know how to adjust. He didn't know what to do. It's like they've been doing the same thing for 2 years, and I finally caught up to them.
Mhm.
Todd Bowles had 2 weeks to prepare for it, and he had his number. Outside of that, they were missing their top 3 guards realistically, or tackles, sorry. So yeah, like that's an issue. But at the same time, well, then you got to call the game a bit different. If your
Yeah,
quarterback has no time, you can't be doing what you're doing.
right. And the same thing as what you're saying is if Bowles prepared for them for 2 weeks, they had 2 weeks to come up with a game plan for the tackles they had,
Mhm.
or to go out and find somebody if they really needed to. But I'm not sure what I'm not really sure what would be out there. But the way that they were going and some of the run plays that they had is literally because the Bucs were like, okay, just run the ball.
Yeah.
And Kansas City refused to run the ball. And that's why they kept running into problems. That's why Mahomes had to make all these crazy throws. Like I saw a meme of Mahomes throwing that ball where he was like parallel to the ground.
Their
But it was from
shortstop.
yeah. Well, I saw Ben Stiller from Dodgeball. But
What?
yeah, I mean like random stuff like that. And yeah, you just so Mahomes had that play where he was throwing the ball, but he was like directly parallel with the ground.
Yeah.
And it was a reference, like they made a reference to Ben Stiller in Dodgeball when he was jumping across and throwing the ball. Like pretty much the exact same
I
scenario.
guess that makes sense.
But I mean,
I don't know how he got
both
the
in
ball
losing
off.
effort, I guess.
But cool. Once again, you make cool throws, but you lost the game. So I understand who to talk about this shit.
Well, exactly. And
And like you make this amazing play, which it was a phenomenal throw. Your receivers, who everybody say are the best group in the league, took I don't know 5 balls out the fucking face mask.
yeah, and
Like this guy's running for his life out there, and you can't catch a ball. Like, what Odell Beckham party around the boat were you on this week?
yeah, yeah. Well, they definitely were outcoached. I agree. That's not to take anything away from Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay was fully prepared and they were by far the better team from almost the beginning to the end. Right, like they went 3 and out, I believe, on their first drive, and other than that, they had control of the game. Now, one thing that made me, jump ahead for the Chiefs. Is their salary cap. Obviously, the salary cap for everyone is trouble, but everyone is saying the Chiefs are the next dynasty. The Chiefs are the next dynasty. Now, if a Chiefs team loses a couple offensive linemen and turns into that, pair that together with the fact that there's 17 million over the cap. The only people they can really cut are offensive linemen, which are 2 guys that missed that game, as well as Tyrann Mathieu. Like I'm almost willing to bet anything. If it was on Cool Bet, I would go bet a whole bunch on it. That Tyrann Mathieu is not a Kansas City Chief next year. The guy, like he's 17 million next year, and if they cut him, they save 14 of it, and they're 17 over. So I mean,
Yeah.
One guy can make the change. One man can change the world.
yeah, exactly. So you
On
take
that
a guy
Chiefs
like that off the
defense,
defense.
absolutely.
Yeah, you take a guy like that off the Chiefs defense. Frank Clark is still going to be their biggest cap hit guy. They can't get rid of him. I mean, no, I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying they can't get rid of him. Mahomes is still there, but as Mahomes' contract continues to grow and grow and grow, because that's how it's structured. Next year is basically the last year of cap relief they have. How are they going to possibly be able to surround him with people? There's not Tyreek Hills every year. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying like Tyreek and Kelsey are locked up. And that's one thing they have going. So the big 3 are locked up. But outside of that, yeah, they're in desperate need of being able to. If you can't block from Mahomes, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because he's only going to get slower. You don't get faster with age.
Right. And
Well, he's only 24. I think he's got a few more years to be slowing down, though. But as far as receivers go, I mean, they do have a bunch of kids as far as receivers go there, and they do really need to work on their offensive line. That was proven here. This was a New York Giants-esque pass rush they had there in the Super Bowl in years past, for me anyway. Offensive line just collapsed after every hike, and so that's to me where the Chiefs really need to invest. Let's see what Mahomes can do with the big, like Chad mentioned, the big 2 would be Hill and Kelsey. build around that, but get him an offensive line because that is not going to work if that's what we have to see. Defense needs to be fixed too. The defense was exposed.
They had 5-man boxes almost the whole time. They didn't check into the plays. You have to check into run plays. I understand that Mahomes wanted to do it all. He doesn't control the play that comes into him, but he could definitely check out of it. And Allaire, and we've killed Allaire the entire time, like basically since he was drafted, right, Chad? Like
He had a pretty good game.
yeah, and I think he only had 8 carries and he had like 80 yards. So like,
well, we were only putting 4 guys in the box. We came on and said like we dare you to run the ball on us, and you just chose not to.
I don't even think Le'Veon Bell got a carry.
No. And then Tampa did the opposite. I think we ran the ball 30 times.
Yeah. It's
like Tom only threw the ball 25 times.
They looked at the stat board walking into that game and just said, well, they're like the 3rd or the 4th best rush defense. We're just not going to try that without even actually. And then when they did try that,
success. Tell you why.
Yeah, and whatever. I mean, whatever the Chiefs thought they showed up to do, obviously didn't work. I also am very skeptical of the fact that people think that that's the next dynasty and that Mahomes is going to come anywhere close to what Brady's Super Bowls are. And Tony Romo was talking about it, and let's just talk about this for a second. Is anybody else sick of listening to Tony Romo talk about football? Oh,
no!
My God, like what a waste of a Super Bowl.
Do you know what the worst part is? They announced him as being on the ballot next year for the Hall of Fame. If that motherfucker goes in, they've lost all credibility.
Right. Well, someone's gonna have to take Rondé's jacket.
Well, when they announced, I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!" And then literally, Ashley's only words were, "That guy played football," and I was like, "Yeah, he played for a while." She's like, "I just thought he dated Carrie Underwood and Jessica Simpson."
He did that too.
Well, I did that too. But like, if that's what you're known for, like, you're not.
He's a multitasker.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, not in football anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in the Hall of Fame in other ways. But let's go back to the Bucs because
fuck. Sorry, did you guys watch the Detroit game?
No.
Ekblad or however you pronounce his name, almost took this goalie's head off. I think he just put like full blown thought he made a life choice not to save that puck. He literally just moved his head out of the way.
Jeez.
Sorry. I know we're talking football, and I just watched that. And like this goalie was like, nope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can watch the game. The next question I have for Kalen, because you kind of already answered the question that I was going to ask, which is, of the Bucs free agents that are coming up, we got Antonio Brown, we got Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, Shaquille Barrett. Who am I missing, Chad? I probably
Levante David.
Levante David. Like, which guy realistically is done there, and they can really afford to lose?
My gut wants to say that AB's gone, but I think that Chad hit it when he said Godwin's gone and AB stays in the whole scheme of things. I think AB of all of them is the one that's willing to take the pay cut because he's already been there. He's seen what it's like on life outside of football. He's got a pretty nice ride right now. Why not just lock it up and stay it out? Godwin's a kid. He's got an opportunity to make a good amount of money, and there's going to be players or teams that are going to want to pay him, and I think he's going to leave for that reason.
Well, I also think that Antonio Brown's on probation, and he would either have to side with he would probably have to side with Miami, Jacksonville, or Tampa. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Steelers GM came out and said that he was happy that Antonio Brown got to hold the trophy. I don't know why that.
Oh, that's
I mean,
news.
It's dumb that the question was even asked, and it's stupider that he answered it. But
he's just playing into all the reports that Shane was talking about a few weeks ago, right? That's all it is.
It's horrible. It's so bad.
You want to know who I want to hear from? Though is Mark Madden. I can't stand that fucking guy on Pittsburgh radio. That guy's
he's awesome. He's awesome.
He's worse than every Leafs and Patriots fan and Cowboys fan. They all just had one super child.
You do not mean that.
I do mean that.
Yeah. Mark Madden's a big deal in the Pittsburgh area. So
yeah. He also said that he called Canadians ignorant pieces of shit on the McAfee show, so I'm a little biased. Because he said that we think we invented hockey, so we deserve to lose every fucking hockey game ever.
Oof.
He kind of looks like Rex Ryan's brother.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob Ryan.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, Rob Ryan. I was trying to
Yep.
think of his name. Yeah, yeah. He kind of looks like that dude. Yeah,
Like
I mean, yeah, I think that guy, he probably is on like a 10-second delay, even on his live radio show, just in case.
yeah.
If if you follow my drift.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's.
So who's coming back? Who's coming back? You said you think that who's coming back? Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
I think Fournette's coming back,
On
and
the
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Fournette for sure. And like whether it's like I do think Antonio Brown is as well, and I actually agree with Chad that it's going to be Godwin that's going to be the odd man out, and uh, not like he did anything wrong, and I think that they would love to have had him back. But if you could put Evans and Brown and pair him up with Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller, and I think Mickens is one of the other receivers there. I know way too many Buccaneers receivers, but there's no point to invest money into 3 top receivers when you have other guys that are coming up. That Tyler Johnson kid from Minnesota, I don't know if this was his rookie year or last year was his rookie year, but
This year was, yeah.
yeah, the guy's got incredible hands. So give
So
that guy with Brady for 2 more years. Like, come on.
talk about investing money. It's actually a
So
pretty
he'd be
funny
the
story.
pepper grinder.
I was watching an interview with Clyde Christensen, and he came out and said he's like when the props bets came out this week, and the one said Brady was like the over under was a half yard for a rush. I guess it came out on Wednesday. He walked into the quarterback room on Thursday. Was like, guys, I have an idea, and they're all like, so they're all thinking they all like pull out their pens, like what's this big great idea? And he's like, we all take $1 million, and one of our wives bet on me on the over. Because he's like, right now the odds are like a plus 103 or something. He's like, and they're all like, well, you can't do that. He's like, no, but your wife can.
Yeah.
And he was just like, and all he told them was, the first second I see the A gap open, I'm going. He's like, forget bonuses. We'll make our own money.
Well, that reminds me of the streaker bet. Like, is everyone familiar with the streaker bet on here?
We talked.
I don't know if that's true or not. Is that real?
It
though?
is real. It is real. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought I saw somebody trying to debunk it, but that's crazy, man. So fill us in anyway. Go ahead with the story, Chad.
It's not my story.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind. I don't mind telling the story because I brought it up. Unless
Sure.
you have more insight than I do, Chad. But basically, this guy put $50,000 on that there was going to be a streaker at the Super Bowl at plus 735 or something like that, which the overall payout was into the 300,000.
He got 374 was his payout.
374, and he had to go to jail obviously because he was streaking, but his bail was $1,000. Yeah.
Mm.
So overall,
Jeez.
I mean, that seems like a pretty sound investment.
And there's no tax in Florida.
And he's got a pretty good friend.
So that,
He's got a pretty good friend, from what I understand, right?
yeah, his friend wouldn't cause a distraction by making it look like he was going to jump on the field. So security stopped him so he could take off and go.
It's
That's a
fantastic.
good friend, man.
Nice.
I love it.
Certainly is.
It's
Now, would you do that?
yeah. I would cause the distraction if you would run on there in that suit.
Yeah. The one tard.
I ain't going back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. There's generally not a prop bet on a regular season game though.
No.
Yeah.
Kalen, you look like you do fine in jail, so you can go.
Jeez.
I'm way
Well,
too pretty.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
think
you be protected. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, I think that's what he means. So I'm gonna go on to deal or big deal or no big deal, because we were about to go off track there, and I could hear Liam talking to me in my ear about it. The COVID 19er hit the NHL, more specifically. It
Hard.
hit a couple of teams
Hard.
harder than others, which made the NHL shuffle the schedule around. And Chad, I'm not sure if I even shared this with you, but the way that they shuffled it is now the St. Louis Blues have to play the Arizona Coyotes 7 times in a row.
It's like the Canada Russia Summit Series back in the 70s. You're gonna play till everybody dies.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll get back to the question. So if you were another team in that division or another team, I don't know, watch it. Like, is this a big deal or not a big deal that you have to play this same team 7 times in a row?
Yeah, it's a big deal. And as a team like my Devils, they're absolutely destroyed right now by the 1-9. Haven't played a game. They've only played 9 games for the season. So like I'm looking at that team there and seeing what's happening to their schedule and seeing that we were supposed to be playing, then they delayed even 3 more games for us. So we could have a pretty jacked up schedule like that too, where we're playing the Rangers 6 and 9 or something like that. Or at the same time, they may not even have any, like they may go 40 games in a row, like 4 days in a row or 3 days in a row of games or something like that they might have to do at this point. I do think that there's a reason why the NHL only did the 56 games, like besides the fact that they started late or whatever it was. I think it has something to do with the fact that they can make up late in the year. But it's they're looks like they're trying to push all the games early like this, and it's going to make some chaos, and it's going to make for some heated games come game 4, 5, and 6 for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Do not run somebody. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, yeah,
You will
straight
be
up.
getting revenge really quickly.
Yeah. Next question. Have you guys heard that MLB is changing baseballs for this year? And if you haven't, I can give you a brief outline of what's going on. And if you have, is it a big deal or not a big deal?
As a fan,
I haven't heard much
I
about
think
it.
it's a big
I've only
deal.
heard about it. So
All right, I could give you. I'll give you something really brief. So basically, the way that a baseball is made is it's like a cork. It's wrapped really tightly with like yarn, and it's covered over with like a cowhide stitched together. You know, like you've seen a baseball. Now, what they're doing is they're taking the ball and they're loosening the strings that are around the cork. Not that you're gonna feel it like it's a squishy ball, but what that's gonna do is it's gonna create some resistance from the batter to not be able to hit it quite as far. Now, it might not be as significant, but it should it should lower the number of home runs that are happening. So yeah, Chad, you're saying it's a big deal because from
as
a
a
fan's
fan,
perspective.
I
Yeah,
think it's for fans. It's more enjoyable to see the long ball, like as like for the casual fan, which unfortunately I think that's what funds baseball is like groups of people going to baseball games together. Out of that group of baseball, only 3 people probably care about the game. Like Shane, you and I went to a baseball game 2 summers ago. I don't think we watched 4 pitches, and you love baseball.
yeah,
I was doing more shots, doing tequila shots at the bar up in right field.
that's true.
But like as a baseball fan, like if you're trying to watch a game and you're not a diehard baseball fan, like watching small ball, no one cares about, and it's not going to draw people into the game. So, as a fan, that's not a diehard baseball fan, which I know every baseball loyalist probably wants to cut my nuts off right now for saying these things. Like the long ball and home runs and that stuff. That's what the game needs. We don't need pitching duels and singles and hit and runs. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and
uh,
for what you're talking about, like absolutely, I do think it's going to lower the amount of home runs. But the main thing that this is going to do is it's supposed to be to reduce the number of strikeouts because they think that the strikeout rate in baseball is too high. Now, why that's going to happen is you're not going to sell out for that fall to your knee swing because you know that you're not going to be able to connect with it the same way. So you're going to adjust your hitting habits, which goes back to kind of what I was saying is the small ball portion of it. It should create more action in it as far as the hits. You're going to have more hits per inning, which keeps the game moving in a viewer's eyes as if it's not just like somebody comes out, throws 9 pitches, and then you run back to the dugout because 2 guys fell to their knees trying to swing out of their shoes. Um, the real thing to look at is if you look at in the playoffs, like in October, when it gets really cold, the players are gripping the ball a little bit tighter because they're losing feelings in their finger and they're used to having a certain feel on the ball. Now, if you look at if the ball is a little bit softer as a pitcher, you're going to still try and get that same grip. And what's going to happen is your fingers are going to blister up easier.
A lot of problems then coming
So
their way.
I'm the scientist about kickoffs. You're the scientist about pitching. Caitlin, what do you bring to the table here?
Just an opinion, and from just the breakdown that Shane had to give us there. I mean, if it wasn't a big deal, that thing would have been only 10 seconds long. But Shane had to go really in depth for a damn good reason. It sounds like there's going to be a whole lot of change. The other thing that I thought about too is that if it's going to be loosening the resistance on the ball, so having less home runs, it would also probably loosen or lessen the velocity on the ball, so that there could be more in-ground plays or inside the park plays. You know, shortstop dives and such. Maybe adding some flair to the game potentially. I don't even know. Like that's something they look into.
Well, no,
But,
that's exactly
think,
yeah, that's exactly the
That's what I'm
point.
saying by a small ball, right? Like that's
Yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, they're looking to create more activity. So that's it. Yeah, exactly what you said is exactly what they want. They want someone to hit it to a point where the outfielder has to go and dive for it at the shortstop, or whatever you were talking about. But yeah,
it's
I think it's gonna
interesting
be a
that
big
this is all
deal.
being brought up now and all talked about, because I know I'm getting a little bit off topic here a little bit, but I don't know if you guys had seen the conversation with Rory McIlroy recently in golf when they asked him about changing the balls and the club heads sizes on the drivers and such, and he took kind of a stance that he thinks that the people who want to be watching that, or the reason people are watching golf is for the long ball and such, and that the people who want to try and analyze the game and cut it down like that should just stick to their day jobs essentially. But it's kind of interesting in the same week that the baseball is making a change like that, and they don't make changes very often, and obviously neither does golf, but maybe they can kind of relate a little bit there too.
For sure. And yeah, another while we're on the topic of change, we have uh, the Penguins have hired a new GM and a new president of hockey operations. That's Ron Hextall and Brian Burke. And anybody that watches Hockey Night in Canada knows that Brian Burke, by the third period, has his tie wrapped around his head like he's the best man at a wedding. And
Seriously.
uh, so for the and I'm going to recruit myself because I am a Penguins fan. For the Penguins, is this a big deal or not a big deal?
Well, I know you guys are in trouble and you're trying to make some moves, so it's a huge deal that way. As I said earlier, like I don't know much about Ron Hextall. Yes, he was the GM of the Flyers, but they haven't really been good in a long time, so I don't know what that's going to show. And I think Brian Burke's 1 foot in the grave already. Like he's just one false step and that guy's out. Like I said, if you watch Hockey Night in Canada, I was just like, oof, this guy is not. He's not going to make it to this whole episode.
Well,
That 20-minute intermission hurt them.
if Brian Burke is to die, I would short hairspray in the market. Kaylin, I know you like to play the market, so I would find a hairspray company that he uses and short that thing because their stock is going to plummet. Yeah.
I think it's a big deal. I think it's a huge deal. Hextall, he built a power team in Philly that didn't really get too far as a result. They had a couple of really, really good talented players, and Giroux, obviously. But then he held on to players like Ronaldo for far, far too long. Gets canned, disappears down to LA and hangs out with the Kings for a couple of years. Didn't really do much there in order to kind of show me that he deserved another chance. But he did start as a scout when he got hired. He didn't get any kind of special treatment coming back after a player. So he's been through the ranks. Maybe he can do something with it. The surprise to me here is Burke getting a job with the Pittsburgh Penguins, man. Like the guy looks like he's struggling to get through some of those interviews on Hockey Night in Canada, as you guys have mentioned. Sometimes he looks like he's drunk. Sometimes he looks like he's just ready to sleep before it even started. So it's going to be interesting to see what he brings to the table there. Be prepared for a hell of a lot of American hockey players hitting your team, Shane. Probably going to bring a tough image down there, maybe some fighters, but I don't know about a good package they'll put together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Like, I will say that if I had to guess, they really wanted Hextall, and Hextall probably was coming as a package deal with Burke, and that's where the deal was coming because the Penguins would normally have just had their GM take care of both roles. But we'll go on to the NBA has scheduled an All-Star game. Now, it was originally canceled. It's still a little bit unclear, at least from the last thing I read, if there's going to be a skills competition. Now, do you think this is a big deal or not a big deal? And I'm kind of basing it on what the players are coming out to and have already said.
Galen, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think it is a big deal. in the sense that they're trying to take a lot of precautions. They're doing a lot from a daily basis for regular games, and now you're going to shut it all down and bring a whole bunch of these people together. It just kind of, in my eyes, it's kind of a bad image. You could have done something similar to what the other leagues did, but at the same time, it's also some folks that are just saying, let's just get on with things and get things going. So we'll see. What did the players even say, Shane? Because I know when it was announced a few weeks ago, there were some players that were pretty ticked off and upset about it, but maybe ideas have changed.
Yeah, so DeAndre Fox, who plays for Sacramento, said that it was an absolute joke that they would have to do this, and then they asked him, well, if you get voted in, are you gonna go? And he smirks and he's like, yeah. Like, well, if it's a joke, why are you gonna go? He's like, well, if I'm not hurt, you should see the big fine they're gonna give me. So no fine's worth that. So there was that. LeBron James said it's an absolute joke that they would have to do it. They've even got into debating over who's going to be left off the All-Star team if this guy's not. I think it's very forced. I don't think it's necessary. It seems like to me the fact that they put it in Georgia because Georgia's kind of an open state right now. It seems like a cash grab. I'm going to say if there's no dunk competition and no skills competition, I won't watch it at all. So it's no big deal to me.
So I think it's just the whole thing is like kind of what you just said about the skills competition, the slam dunk contest. First off, the whole game is a joke anyway. So let's just start with that. Like it's probably less eventful than the Pro Bowl. Like these guys are just running up and down the court, they're just doing whatever they want. There's no defense. They're scoring 160 points because they're just letting guys do whatever they want. At least when there's a slam dunk contest, those guys are actually trying to do something. They have 4 guys come and have a slam dunk contest, and that's what I would do only. That's all anybody cares about. Like, do a 3-point contest, do a dunk contest, call it a day.
Well, the thing that I thought too was like, and based on what you're saying, like, wouldn't it just make more sense to make 10 contestants and just film it all in different gyms? I mean, that would seem like the creative idea to at least put something on TV if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know.
I think all All-Star games are jokes anyways, so.
Yeah. I mean, like I kind of like the way that hockey had been doing it for the last couple of years, just because it added a little bit of a competitive twist to it. But even still, I mean,
Hockey
not necessarily too exciting.
Yeah.
Now we have Russell Wilson, who is very, very frustrated in Seattle. Now, to the point that I have heard that they are fielding trade offers for him. Now, from the perspective is, do we think this is true? And is this actually a big deal or not a big deal?
Who's the source?
Well,
Who's ESPN? Whoever runs the ESPN that's not Adam Schefter. It might have been Mortensen or something.
I think yeah. So the story that leaked last night, I can't remember who that was from. It might have actually been Mike Freeman, and then I think is her name Justina Bell or something like that. Anyway, she was the one who interviewed him further today. Last night, I thought it was I thought it was a total myth, rumor, not true. Even on Sunday when they were talking about it, not happening. But then now he's come out and talked about, well, I don't know if I'll be a Seahawk. You're going to have to ask them about that next year. And I'm sick and tired about being sacked all the time. We need to work better on that. That's it seems like it's awfully true, and it's not often that Russell Wilson talks very negative. So big boom, or it's a big deal for me because I think that kind of signals a move on the horizon, whether that be him or the entire offensive line being revamped.
It doesn't sound like the NFL Man of the Year kind of thing to say. So you just win this award saying you're the Man of the Year and you're this phenomenal person. You do all these things. You're like, oh, by the way, now I want out. So my question is, does he want out or does Sierra want out? He's never said a word in his life. He's never came out and complained about a thing, which if he is that fed up, cool, good for him. But he's never been the guy that's ever said something to the media. Like he's a guy that would keep that stuff in-house. So at this point, it's like, does Sierra want out and she's driving him to leave because she might not like living in northern Washington. I bet that's not a sexy place to live.
Yeah.
He did look awkward as hell, though, when he was receiving that.
A big fall from grace from dancing on the hood of Ludacris's car. So, we'll move on. We're gonna go to Kalen, you were talking about Matt Ryan, how things are probably heating up for him a little bit in Indianapolis. We've obviously heard the Carson Wentz stuff. We've talked about it a little bit. If you guys were the Colts, or even put yourself as a Colts fan, because I know that's what Kalen wants to do, which one of these quarterbacks would you prefer?
Carson Wentz. The contract's the same. The age is significantly younger. The upside is so much higher because his potential is just getting tapped. He already knows the quarter. He already knows your head coach, who was his offensive coordinator and quarterback coach in Philly. So he understands that the terminology mostly is going to be the same package, same system. And he had some of his best years under Frank Reich. So as a Colts fan, when the contract's sitting around the same, I want to go with the guy who my coach has that relationship with. And Matt Ryan, yeah, like, do you want to bring in another 36-year-old quarterback so that in 2 years you're in the same boat all over again with all this young talent that you have? Or you bring in a quarterback who's only 25 years old, who's actually signed for the next 4 years. So, like, I think that's the better route to go. I can't see them, like, going after another vet where, like, if Matt Ryan has a shit year, does he just say, hey, you know what, I've had enough of this, I'm out?
Yeah. Kellen, what do you think?
Well, I've said far too many good things in the past 5 days about the Indianapolis Colts, so I'm not going to say anything nice. If I was the Colts, I'd call up the Jaguars and ask how much Minshew is going to cost me. Burn that to the ground, Gene. Burn it to the ground, baby.
And so there was something that just popped in my head. We didn't even talk about it coming on, so I don't mean to put you guys on the spot. But Brady went from New England to Tampa Bay. Very, very quickly won a championship. Now, if you were a quarterback and you weren't included in this list, like a guy like Russell Wilson, because we just talked about him, and Matt Ryan really wasn't included in the list when we listed that 18 quarterbacks that were maybe on the go. Like, do these rumors heat up because now you think, oh, well, all I have to do is switch teams and maybe I'll win the Super Bowl? Or is it just like, hey, Tom Brady doesn't matter if like he can go play for fucking Urban Meyer next year for the Jaguars, they're gonna win.
People have to realize Tampa wasn't that bad of a team.
I agree.
That's exactly it.
We went 7-9 with a quarterback that threw fucking 400 interceptions. The pieces were there. He brought in a couple guys, but the defense didn't change. Not one thing on that defense changed.
Right.
Todd Bowles was in his second year, and look how good that defense played down the stretch. The offense was what held us back at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everybody says, oh, Tom Brady just jumped ship and went to a random team. No, that team was already there. It was actually a pretty good, it was a pretty educated decision by him. He had a number one receiver there, Mike Evans. He had a really good number two receiver. He had 2 good tight ends before Gronk came out, and an offensive line that was not bad. And the first thing he was draft a tackle for him. Like, I think Mike Evans is a top 7 receiver in the league. As a duo, I think they're one of the best duos. So what quarterback wouldn't want to go there?
Right.
With a really quarterback-minded head coach. So, like, Tom Brady picked where he wanted to go. Some of these other guys, unfortunately, like, you might not get that option.
I agree. I don't disagree with you.
That's exactly it. If the other teams had the trade capital in order to make that trade happen, they're going to be a pretty bad team typically. So you're not going to a team like the Bucs, man. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity in the offseason to make that team come together like that.
All right. Well, yeah, I agree. And like I said, that just kind of popped in my mind. I was wondering if this is something that's going to kind of spark over the next couple of years. But football is kind of over. I mean, the football season never really ends. There's always going to be something. This will be the first February in a long time that there's not like the underwear Olympics. I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know if they've actually come out and said that, but my guess is that
they're
not
running
happening.
regionals.
Okay. So I would say that it's not going to be blasted all over NFL Network the way that it normally would be. I'm sure that there'll be like stuff on, but football is kind of over for the next until the draft, really. What sport are you watching right now? What is now your new number one sport that moves football back down to, I don't know, 2 or 3? Or I mean, everyone starts their morning with NFL AM either way. But yeah, What sport are you into, Chad?
Hockey, which is something I never thought I'd actually get into again. Like I've played it my whole life. I watched it die hard as a kid growing up, and I'm slowly getting back into it. I can't do basketball. I just don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I actually don't mind college basketball. So the tournament starts up, I'll be all about that life. But 100% the biggest reason I talk is like I'm betting on hockey and winning. So shout out to Cool Bet for that one.
No doubt.
Not even a plug this time. It's just hey, if you're putting money in my pocket, I'm gonna watch that sport a bit more. But yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to for that is I'm enjoying watching it. I'm betting on the games, and maybe to actually understand hockey, that makes a big difference for me. But I've been watching it every night ever since pretty much football was done in the regular season, the NHL season started up.
Caleb, what about you?
For me, it's hockey and basketball, same together for me. Unfortunately, we talked earlier, my Devils haven't had the chance really to play this season. But having the All Canadian division has been kind of fun to watch those teams play back and back and forth. Except for watching Vancouver and Montreal play because it just seems to be a 9-goal game and not in the favor of Vancouver ever. So that's not fun. But being a Celtics fan, I got a good young team, Jaylen Brown and Tatum there. Although Tatum was out with the 1-9 for some time. So it's nice to have him back. So it's nice to have some good teams to watch anyway. That's going to make watching basketball fun. And then a player like LaMelo down in Charlotte. I'm loving watching that kid, man. I do not like any of the Ball brothers, but he's fun to watch, man. He'll shoot it from anywhere. He'll cover anybody. He'll drive to the basket at anybody. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm actually just looking forward to baseball starting because I don't think that the Penguins have it in them to make a run. I also, and this is me calling a shot that you guys have never heard before. This will be the first time since Tom Izzo's been the coach that Michigan State's not making the tournament this year.
Oof.
First time in like 22 years.
Wow.
I think it's got to be, yeah, it's not happening. So that puts a whole different feel on March Madness for me because I don't know. I don't even know what the tournament looks like without the green and white in it. But that kind of just steers my direction right towards let's get to April 1st. Blue Jays home opener. Let's go. Probably in Buffalo or Dunedin, wherever they're playing. But
I'm just happy sports are back. That's
yeah,
what it comes down to. It kind of gives us like some sense of normalcy again, like that you just throw a game on any night of the week and like you're not just scrolling Netflix nonstop, just trying to find the same stuff over and over again. You can just like I always talk about sports are like the ultimate reality TV. Like what you see is what you get. It's real every time. So to me, I'm just happy sports are back in general because it's finally the world's finally becoming right again, as we'll say.
Yeah, and it made this lockdown a little bit more palatable. Just to be home and like the worst case scenario on a Saturday if I'm sitting at home doing nothing, I'll just watch sports literally from like 11 in the morning until I go to bed.
Jesus, those restaurant days are so far away from us, aren't they, Shane? Those restaurant days are just so far away from us now, aren't they? Saturday nights? We never knew what the hell a Saturday night was.
Yeah, I went from finding how many games I could have out of my basement. We used to have to write out every friggin' game that was on every channel just so that the server knew where to put it when Buddy wanted to watch. Chad, what was it? It was always like the Dolphins and the Browns.
I would literally make this TV. I would make a TV schedule of where to put the games. The guy would show up by himself. Can you put the Bengals game on right there? Can you turn around, asshole? The game's on right behind you. Is that an option for you?
The Bengals don't get the big TV.
Yeah. Sorry, you don't get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't miss those days at all.
But yeah, I mean, while we're talking about restaurant and bar, we should take care of the Joe Cool's clutch delivery of the week. So who is going to be taking care of that?
That wasn't the one that Catholic got. That one looked delicious, but it was not that delivery. That thing was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it then.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were kind of throwing it to you. I mean, it's on you.
We're going to let Chad have it this week.
Delivery. It's Tampa Bay and Tom Brady is delivering that ball to whoever he felt like. That is the best way to put it. He was playing catch with his receivers. There's a little bit of pressure on them, really, not too much. There's the biggest soft zones I've seen probably in a while. They were like, it's like almost like they were scared of the deep ball. So like, all right, fine. They're like, I'll fucking nickel and dime this thing all day long, boys. Like Gronk got into the mix. AB had 5 catches for 22 yards. Like you want to give me underneath routes? Okay, that works. Well, let's move the chains all day. Tom Brady's out there playing catch. So delivery this week is Tom Brady to whoever he felt like.
There you go.
He was the delivery
All
man.
right. Any final any final thoughts before we wrap up, boys?
Yeah, I'm Super Bowl champion still till next
Oh,
year.
hey.
So
Yeah.
I'll sit with that on that pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was a
I forgot one other delivery that was clutch this week. Me delivering that Kalen's going in the water. One more time. That just feels good to say. Sounds great coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. So
you don't think you're coming in with me, pal? You got another thing coming,
So
huh?
I have a towel. I have a towel here for you with a big child can logo on it. So don't worry, you're gonna be okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, yeah. Look out for that because we're gonna make we're gonna make Kalen either go down a hill in his underwear on a toboggan or get into Lake Erie. Haven't decided, but it's probably gonna happen soon. So watch out for that video, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because if you don't, Liam will come find you. And other than that, guys, thanks, and we'll see you again later this week.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.